My wife left me for my boss at a company party. He dropped her in 3 months. She came back sobbing. I wasn't invited to my own life. Here's how I found out. I'm Mason, 35. My wife is Riley, 32. We've been married 6 years, no kids, 2 plants we've almost murdered, and a rescue mutt named Pixel who thinks he's a person. I'm ops at a medical supply company. Riley's in partnerships at a streaming startup, the neon sign, kombucha on tap kind of place. We were fine. Not fireworks daily, but the dependable kind of love that pays the bills and remembers your coffee order. Then came the corporate party. My boss, Grant, 46, had just finalized a very public divorce. He showed up to our annual gala tanned lighter like a man testing out his new freedom in a mirror. Riley came because she wanted to finally meet the people keeping me late. She wore a silver slip dress that made the ballroom lights look like they'd been designed around her. When Grant saw us, he smiled too long. He poured Riley a drink himself, hand brushing her fingers, and said, "You must be the one keeping Mason grounded." He didn't look at me when he said it. It got weird quickly. He hovered near Riley during speeches, laughed at everything she said, touched her elbow like punctuation. She giggled in a way she doesn't giggle for me anymore, head tilted, lashes batting, all that bright focus turned on him. I told myself to relax. Networking is tactile. People are flirty in suits. It's a party. Around 10 the DJ switched to slow stuff. Riley squeezed my hand, said, "Bathroom," and drifted toward the mezzanine. I watched her go without wanting to seem like the insecure husband. A minute later, from the balcony, I saw Grant step out of a side corridor and fall into step with her, casual, practiced. They disappeared through the service door that leads to the hotel's private elevators. My chest went hot, then cold. I stood there holding 2 flutes of champagne like props in a bad play. I found reasons. Work talk. Crisis. My brain did the math of denial while my stomach filed complaints. When Riley came back 20 minutes later, her hair had that static lifted look it gets when fabric and warm air do their dance. She smelled like my cologne and something darker. I realized later, smoke and orange peel. She kissed my cheek, not my mouth, and said, "Ran into your boss. Man's a hurricane." Then she laughed like we were sharing a private joke and asked if we could call it because these things make my feet ache. On the ride home she scrolled her phone, smiling at nothing. When I asked, she said, "Maddie sent me a meme." Maddie's her coworker, sure, but my gut whispered another name. I stared at the skyline and told myself to be the bigger man, the calm one, the safe one she always calls me. Safe felt like a compliment then. Later it would sound like a sentence. 2 days after the gala, we were eating leftover pasta when Riley said it like she was ordering coffee. "Grant's interesting. Ambitious. He says I could be doing bigger things." She looked at me over her fork. Sometimes I think I chose stability too early. The word stability landed like a brick with a bow. I laughed it off because I didn't know the right way to scream. Pixel thumped his tail against my leg, totally unaware the ground under our table had started to crack. Disclosure didn't arrive like lightning. It slid in under the door and sat at the kitchen table with us. First, a photo I wasn't supposed to see. Our company posted a reel from the gala. Clinking glasses, bad dancing, a drone shot of the mezzanine. If you paused just right, there was a reflection in the chrome trim, Riley's silver shoulder and a charcoal suit stepping into the private elevator. Grant owns exactly one suit color, charcoal. I zoomed until the pixels groaned. My stomach did that slow carnival drop. Then a smell that didn't live in our house. Riley came home late 3 nights in a row, calling it strategy sessions. When she hugged me, she carried a hotel lobby candle scent and a man's cologne with cedar and orange peel, expensive, cocky. In bed she was either wildfire or a locked door. One night she kissed me like she was trying to erase something. Her mouth tasted like mint and bourbon. Her hands skated under my shirt, frantic, and then she rolled away laughing, "I'm wired," and went to answer a text on the balcony. I lay there staring at the ceiling fan, listening to Pixel snore, replaying keys and elevator doors and the sound of a zipper in my head even though I hadn't heard one. The phone gave me the next breadcrumb. While she showered, her screen lit up face up for once. A banner slipped past "Do Not Disturb." "Grant, that elevator should be illegal. You taste like mint and trouble." I didn't touch the phone. I stood there with dish soap on my hands, heart in my throat, and watched the words fade like a dare. I started a folder on my laptop called "If I'm Wrong," because if you name it that, maybe you get to be. I took photos of the banner, the chrome reflection, the timestamp on the gala reel. I added our Amex charges from that week. Rooftop bar, late night room service at a hotel across from my office, labeled client hospitality. I called the hotel and asked about conference rooms. The clerk chirped, "We only offer guest suites." Here's the part one hate admitting, I tried to be romantic about it. I told myself it was a crush, that she needed to feel seen. I told myself I'm the oak tree and oak trees don't panic when birds land and fly. And then she said the quiet part out loud. We were meal prepping in sweatpants, chopping peppers, Netflix murmuring to itself. Riley set the knife down and leaned on the counter, watching me like she was choosing words off a menu. "Grant's a better option," she said. "Come, play. For where I'm going. You're good. Safe. I need someone who pulls me forward." I heard the blood in my ears. "So what does that make me?" I asked. She gave me the kind of smile you give a puppy you're about to rehome. "You'll be okay, Mace. You're resilient." 2 days later, she moved into a short-term sublet near the office. Her mom, Lorna, helped pack, clucking about women not settling. Her stepdad, Vic, wore a golf visor indoors and asked if he could borrow my socket set while they were here. My mom, Elena, stood in our doorway with a Tupperware of lasagna and eyes like storm glass. Dad, Walt, said nothing, just put his calloused hand on my shoulder until I remembered how to breathe. For 3 months, Riley's Instagram looked like a commercial. Rooftop dinners, a weekend in Napa, a watch I know she didn't buy herself. Co-workers whispered. Someone sent me a shot from a charity gala. Grant with his hand low at her back, Riley's ring turned inward, her laugh thrown at the ceiling. I kept going to work. I kept watering the plants. I kept Pixel alive and let myself believe routines could hold a heart together. Then the reel changed. New posts showed Grant with someone new, 26, glossy, the kind of smile that eats cameras for breakfast. Riley went quiet online. The same week, an email hit my inbox from a burner address I didn't recognize. "I made a mistake. Please talk to me." I didn't answer. The next night, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, Riley was there with mascara down her face, knees already buckling like the rug was quicksand. "He replaced me," she sobbed, grabbing at my jeans. "He said I was transitional." She curled at my feet and whispered, "You're the only one who ever loved me. Please, let me come home." I looked at the woman on my floor and felt two truths at war. I am a good man. And I am no one's safety net. I didn't invite her in. I opened the door just enough that Pixel couldn't bolt, and Riley did the rest, collapsed forward, arms around my thighs, sobbing, "Please, please, I was stupid, he used me." Mascara had carved 2 black rivers down her cheeks. She slid to her knees on the doormat like gravity knew something I didn't. "Get up," I said. "We're not doing this in the hallway." In the living room, I'd already cued a quiet kind of trial. TV paused on the gala reel with the chrome reflection. A folder on my laptop with the keycard sleeve photo, the rooftop receipt, and a screenshot of Grant. "That elevator should be illegal. You taste like mint and trouble." I'd added one more. An email from the hotel manager confirming a 2-guest suite billed to Grant's corporate account on the night of our party. Riley took it in like a drowning person cataloging waves. Then she went back to her knees on our rug, hands folded like prayer. "It was champagne and bad judgment," she cried. "Kissing in an elevator, that's it. He said I was once in a decade, and I wanted to feel chosen." Her fingers clutched my jeans. "We didn't go all the way, Mason. I swear on." "Don't swear," I said. "Tell the truth." "The truth is I made a mistake and picked the wrong path for 3 months, she rushed. "He promised mentorship, a new title, said I'd outgrown you. He gets into your head, Mace. He told me we were a power couple. Then he found an upgrade and I realized I threw away gold for glitter." She hiccuped on the word gold like she knew it was a line. I mirrored the text onto the TV. Mint and Trouble stared back at us in black and white. Her mouth trembled. "He was drunk," she said. We were laughing. I chewed a mint because I was nervous. You know I always carry mints. "And the sweet." She swallowed. "We went up to talk. I left. I slept at Maddie's." "Ask her." "Maddie, the coworker who once told me Riley needs energy, not order." Riley reached for me again, lower this time, forehead pressed to my knee, voice going small. "I know I said he was a better option. I was wrong. I was empty and he was shiny. Please let me back. I'll block him, I'll quit, I'll crawl if you want." "You already are," I said, and I hated how tired I sounded. She launched into the rest of the script. Therapy, church, post-nup, audit me, put trackers on my phone, I'll sleep on the floor, I'll sell my bags, I'll go on Reddit myself and call me the villain. Every sentence a bargaining chip, every tear a receipt she wanted me to accept. She lied small, then adjusted. "We only kissed twice, oi 3 times, oi more, but it wasn't." She stopped short of the noun like the word itself could convict her. I went to the kitchen, hands shaking without shaking the glass. Here are the rules, I said, coming back with water I knew she wouldn't drink. No contact with him. No contact with anyone who covers for you. Full honesty. Therapy. And you don't sleep here. Not yet. Her eyes blew wide. Please, Mason. I can't be alone tonight. I'll spiral. You've been spiraling in other people's elevators for months, I said, and immediately hated the pettiness. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Do my parents know? She asked suddenly, voice tiny. Not yet. She bit her lip, panic lighting behind her eyes. Please don't tell them. Mom will make it a theater piece and Vic will ask for money. So the usual, I said. She crawled the last inch and wrapped her arms around my calves again. You're good, she sobbed. I was bad. Let me fix it. Let me come home. Pixel inched over and rested his head on my foot, confused, loyal. I looked down at the woman kneeling on my rug and told the truest thing I could manage. I don't know if there's a home left. I didn't slam the door. I drafted terms like I was writing safety instructions on an airplane already on fire. 30 days of glass. No contact with Grant, no girls' nights that somehow end in hotel lobbies, location sharing on, therapy twice a week, receipts for everything, and she sleeps at her sister Harper's. Riley nodded through tears like a bobblehead in a hurricane. Then she slid, again, to her knees, palms up. Thank you, she kept whispering as if gratitude could backfill trust. The first week was a spreadsheet. I logged charges, calendar blocks, who she called, where she was. Boring saved me. Riley performed remorse with Olympic stamina, hour-long apologies, texts at sunrise, blocked him. Therapist at noon. She sent screenshots like talismans. At night, she'd stand in the doorway, eyes swollen, asking if she could just sit on the couch and be near. I said yes twice and watched her fold into herself like a paper swan trying to remember the shape of a bird. But light finds dust. Day 6, a gray calendar block popped up, client reset, and vanished 60 seconds later. Fat fingers, she said, smiling too bright. Day 8, our Amex showed a $214 boutique hotel charge labeled meeting space. I called. Cheerful clerk, we only offer guest rooms. Riley's face went chalk. It was Serena's birthday, she blurted, then winced at how fast the lie came out. Later she pivoted. Okay, I went to confront him. I wanted closure. I left. Always the line. Always left. Therapy turned raw. She cried so hard she hiccuped, said she'd felt like an appliance in our marriage, plugged in, unplugged. He made me feel chosen, she whispered, staring at the carpet, and I wanted that more than I wanted to be good. The awful thing? I understood the sentence even as it set me on fire. Skeletons marched. A temporary credit card in my name, to float expenses. A Venmo memo to her brother Zeke, rent again promise. A certification on her resume that was a weekend workshop. I wanted to look like I belonged in the rooms I kept walking into, she said, small, guilty. I kept thinking I'd pay it all back when I got the title. The title never came. The debt did. My mom, Elena, called every other night. How's your stomach? She was a nurse for 30 years, she knows grief lives there. Dad, Walt, asked if I needed him to come fix something that isn't broken. Riley's mom, Lorna, left me a voice note about men strangling women's potential, then asked if I could help Zeke with a security deposit until his gig lands. Vic sent me a link to a golf simulator he wanted to invest in. I turned my phone face down and stared at the ceiling until names lost meaning. On day 12, the thing I'd been avoiding surfaced by itself. Riley came over with a box of truth, old receipts, a necklace I didn't buy, the keycard sleeve I'd already photographed. We sat at opposite ends of the couch. She reached for my hand, I didn't move it. The air felt thin. I miss us, she whispered. Not the boring parts. The way you make lists on napkins. The way you tuck Pixel's blanket like he's royalty. The way you touch my back in the kitchen when you walk past. Her mouth trembled. I miss being good. Then, softer, I miss the way you look at me like I'm already enough. Something in my chest cracked in a clean, surgical way. I reached just a little and she leaned into my shoulder. She kissed me, a slow, trembling press, familiar heat under new grief. Her hand slid to my ribs, tentative, apologetic. It was tender and tainted at once, the map of us overlaid with someone else's fingerprints. I pulled back first. She cried silent, mouth open like sound had given up. That night I dreamed of elevators, chrome walls, breath fogging. In the morning I deleted the dream the only way I could. I ran until my lungs burned and my brain stopped replaying Mint and Trouble. On day 15, a text banner slid through her lock screen as she set the phone on my counter. Grant, HR wants a statement. Keep the timeline clean. You good? The floor tilted. Riley lunged for the phone, eyes wild. He's harassing me, she said too fast. I'll tell HR he's lying. She dropped to her knees again, forehead to my thigh. Please. Don't give up. I will be holy if that's what it takes. I stared down at the top of her head, at a woman building a shrine to the version of herself she wanted me to see, and realized I was praying to no God at all. I decided if my heart was going to break, it would break on paper where I could see the edges. I turned our dining table into an evidence lab. Folder names like a sad poem. If I'm wrong, glass, elevator charges. I printed the rooftop receipt, the hotel email, we only offer guest suites, the Amex page with every hospitality, tag highlighted jaundice yellow. I screen recorded Riley's calendar stutters, client reset, popping up and vanishing like a guilty thought. HR found me before I found them. A neutral email. We're conducting a review into potential policy violations involving supervisory boundaries and travel. Your cooperation may be requested. 10 minutes later, another ping from Grant's personal address I didn't know he had. Let's keep the timeline clean. We both value discretion. We both? The audacity tasted metallic. That night Riley arrived with red eyes and a casserole from her sister, apology brown on top. She stood in the doorway like fog. Can I just sit? She asked Tiny. Pixel wagged like she was the ocean and he was a happy boat. I let her in. She saw the table and went straight to her knees like the rug had a trapdoor. Mason, please, HR is sniffing. He's trying to pin it on me, she sobbed, fingers in a death grip on my jeans. I'll write a statement. I'll quit. I'll return every dollar. The list was long enough to be a liturgy. I set my phone on the mantle and hit record before I even knew I was doing it. Not because I planned a gotcha, because I was tired of arguing with my own memory. I asked her to walk me through Napa weekend. She said it was a team offsite. I slid over the winery tag on her story, 2 glasses, 1 watch on the wrong wrist. She pivoted, okay, it was a mentorship thing, separate rooms. I set down the invoice, 1 KNG/2 guests/corp ACCT, G. Avery. She collapsed further, palms up. I left. I slept at Maddie's. Call her. Maddie, whose loyalty is weather. Why the gray calendar blocks? I asked. Why the boutique meeting room charge when they don't have meeting rooms? Because I'm a liar, she said suddenly, raw like ripping a bandage. Tears wept straight down, no acting. Because I wanted to be someone else for 5 minutes and I kept trying to pause the clock. Because it felt good to be wanted by a bad man and I mistook adrenaline for love. I wish that confession fixed anything. It made the room quiet in a way I'll remember when I'm old. My mom texted, how's your stomach? My dad, need me to pretend something's broken? Lorna called mid-sob to tell me men ruin ambitious women, then in the same breath, asked if I could float Zeke's security deposit. Vic sent a link to a golf simulator, great investment, and a winky face. I muted the thread and felt my spine return cell by cell. When Riley stepped onto the balcony for a therapist call, I heard the slider and hit record again. Through the glass, her voice low, stripped of apology. No, don't text me. HR is sniffing. He'll stay, he's safe. That's who he is. Yes, I miss you, but we have to torch the trail. No more paper. Delete Napa. I stood there with my forehead against the wall and listened to the part of me that still loved her go quiet like a radio losing signal. Later I played it back on the TV. Riley watched her own words float across the room and folded into herself, a paper crane unraveling. I'm sorry, she whispered, knees touching the coffee table, palms up like an offering. I'm so sorry. I'm done arguing with Fogg, I said, voice calm in a way that scared me. Next is facts, then family. Her head snapped up. My parents, no. Please. Mom will turn it into theater and Vic will pass a plate. Then they can sell tickets, I said. Because I'm not carrying this alone anymore. She slid the last inches and kissed my shoes, actually pressed her mouth to the leather like a vow gone feral. You're good, she cried. I was bad. I'll be whatever you need. I need the truth in front of witnesses, I said, and scheduled dinner. Lorna called it a healing dinner. My mom called it triage. I brought a thumb drive and antacids. Riley arrived blotchy-eyed with a casserole like carbs could staple a marriage back together. Lorna hugged me with perfume and performance. We're all adults here. Vic adjusted his indoor golf visor, why? And asked if I still had his socket set. Zeke hovered near the kitchen island, sniffing like a truffle pig who only finds other people's cash. My parents came quiet and solid. Mom with a pie like a gavel, Dad with the jaw he uses for bad weather. We chewed through small talk like it had bones. Lorna toasted strong women finding their worth. Mom set down her fork, didn't blink. After plates, I plugged the drive into their TV. I'm done being the only one who knows what room I'm in, I said. The first slide froze. Gala reel, chrome reflection of Riley and a charcoal suit stepping into the private elevator. Lorna said, reflections lie. Next. The rooftop receipt, 2 drinks at 11:47 p.m., the night of my gala. Then the hotel email, we only offer guest suites. Vic cleared his throat like he'd found a ruling in his visor. Zeke whispered, yikes, like a sports commentator. Finally, the recording. Riley's voice filled her mother's living room, low, unadorned, he'll stay, he's safe. That's who he is. Yes, I miss you, but we have to torch the trail. No more paper. No adjectives. Just her. Riley slid off the couch so fast the cushion sighed. Knees. Palms up. The whole choreography. Please, she sobbed, crawling toward my shoes. That was me trying to shut it down. He twists everything. I was scared. I'm ashamed. I'll do inpatient. I'll sign a post-nup. I'll put my salary into a joint account you control. Her breath hiccuped. Mason, look at me. I am begging. Mom's voice came out quiet and steel. Up, Riley? She didn't move. Lorna sprang to her mark. This is a smear, she snapped at me. Context matters. My daughter is passionate. She pivoted to the crowd. Ambitious women get punished for breathing. Dad didn't look at anyone but me. Son, he said. It meant you decide. It meant, we've got you. I kept going because truth is merciless and I was done being merciful to lies. Expense highlights. Gray calendar blocks blooming and vanishing. The Napa invoice, 1KNG/2 guests/corp ACCT, G. Avery. Lorna pointed at the screen like she could poke a hole in a PDF. Deepfakes exist, she said. Vic muttered, let's be men about this, as if I hadn't been doing the unglamorous work for weeks. Then Zeke, God bless his lack of filters, piped up. Wasn't there also the LA vendor thing? Before the wedding? The NDA. The room rotated toward him like a turret. Riley's face went sheet white. Zeke, Lorna hissed. He shrugged. What? You said gray area. Riley folded tighter, forehead to carpet. I was broken then, she sobbed. I swore never again. Mom raised an eyebrow so gently the word again shattered between us. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Preview bright as a flare. Grant, HR wants a statement Monday. Keep the timeline clean. You good? Lorna lunged like she could smother light. Vic said, this is harassment. Dad said, this is consequence. I took a breath that tasted like metal. Here's what happens next, I said, voice steady enough to scare me. Joint cards are frozen. I've moved my half of savings per our prenup. Tomorrow I file for divorce citing dissipation and documented infidelity. I'll cooperate with HR. I'll seek reimbursement for every dollar tied to this. From now on, contact goes through counsel or therapy. Riley crawled the last inches and wrapped herself around my calves, crying so hard her words blew apart. Don't end me, she begged. You're the good thing. I'm the bad thing. Let me fix it. Lorna's eyes flashed. You'll ruin her, she said. Mom finally looked at her, sad and iron. She did that. Zeke raised a timid hand. Unrelated, but could someone spot me first month's rent? Vic nodded, proud of the boy for networking. Pixel patted over and pressed his head to my shin. I looked at the woman on her knees and realized mercy doesn't mean staying in the fire. It means walking out and letting the house burn without you. The morning after family court, I woke up weirdly calm, like the storm had blown out the windows and all that was left was clear air and broken glass to sweep. I made coffee strong enough to shine shoes and called a lawyer a friend recommended, Ms. Patel. I walked her through the folders on my desktop, if I'm wrong, glass, elevator, charges, balcony. She listened without interrupting, then said, good. Facts. Timestamps. Policies. Keep your adjectives for therapy. Revenge, it turns out, wears a blazer and prefers PDF. I sent HR a clean timeline, the gala reel stills, the rooftop receipt, the hotels, we only offer guest suites email, the calendar ghost blocks, and the balcony audio where Riley said he'll stay, he's safe, torched the trail. No name calling. Just dates, dollars, and policy numbers. Ms. Patel drafted the petition. Dissipation of marital assets and documented infidelity per the prenup. She reminded me to move my half of savings, done, and freeze the discretionary card, done. You're building exits, not explosions, she said. I wrote that on a sticky note and stuck it to my monitor. Riley tried every channel like a woman dialing 911 in a dream: DMs, burner email, a texting app with a cartoon logo. When those bounced, she appeared at 1:40 a.m. in a hoodie, rain spangling the fabric, and slid down my door to her knees. Mason, I can't breathe without you, she whispered through the wood. Pixel whined on the other side. I sat on the floor back to the door and pictured opening it. Tears, Neil, promises, a week of glass, a gray calendar block blooming like mold. I texted her, contact counsel only. She cried, then the hallway went quiet. HR moved like a metronome. Monday, Riley placed on administrative leave. Wednesday, interview please. Thursday, Grant stepping back to pursue opportunities. LinkedIn for we pushed him. He still slipped me one last email: we can keep this discreet, you and I let Miss Patel answer with words that smell like court. Lorna went live on Facebook with a ring light and a TEDx voice about how society punishes ambitious women, then DM'd me a reimbursement plan she wanted me to sign like I was Wells Fargo. Vic invited me to buy into his golf simulator idea, recession-proof entertainment. Zeke texted, bro, can you co-sign my lease? I muted the thread. Mom dropped soup and a note: your piece is non-negotiable. Dad forgot a crescent wrench in my junk drawer so he'd have a reason to check in. Mediation day, Riley arrived with swollen eyes and posture that screamed apology. Before we sat, she slipped off the chair onto her knees on the conference carpet, palms up, whispering, please? The mediator blinked like the manual didn't cover kneeling. Ms. Patel slid a neat stack across the table: receipts, emails, the balcony transcript. HR joined by phone, voice neutral as a hospital wall. Riley cycled through every exit ramp: burnout, Cole is predatory. I stopped at the line: I was empty. He made me feel chosen. She promised inpatient, a post-nup, a salary under my control, to go to church every day, to cut my hair if you want. She cried so hard her words hiccuped. I kept hearing my dad's voice: measure twice, cut once. We signed a memorandum: I keep the condo, the car, the retirement. She reimburses a fair spend. No spousal support under the prenup, and for cause termination, no contact outside counsel or therapy. Paper revenge isn't cinematic. It's initials at the bottom of a line where you stop bleeding. On the elevator down, Riley lunged, last reflex, arms around my waist from her knees, face buried in my jacket. One more month, she begged. I'll be boring for you. Over her shoulder, the mirrored wall caught us. A man standing, a woman collapsed, a dog-eared diorama of our last year. I peeled her hands off, gentle, and pressed L. The car descended like a pulse settling after a sprint. I checked my pockets, keys, phone, spine, and realized I still had everything I needed. The week after mediation felt like living inside hold music. No big explosions, just bureaucratic beeps that quietly rearranged my life. Miss Patel emailed, draft decree ready. HR thanked me for my professional cooperation, like I'd helped assemble a bookshelf. Grant resigned to pursue new opportunities, which his LinkedIn forgot bounced. Serena from Riley's team sent a one-line note from her personal account: you weren't crazy. Your boring evidence saved people. Riley tried one last blitz. A bakery box on my doorstep: apology carbs. A handwritten letter in loopy pen: I chose glitter over gold. 3 midnight knocks I didn't answer. The final one came with a whisper through the door, the same script, softer: you're the good thing. I'll be better. Pixel sat beside me on the rug, ears up, like he was waiting for the command to forgive. I petted his head and said nothing. Silence is a muscle, I was finally lifting it. Lorna pivoted to PR. Facebook Live, #resilience, a ring light, a speech about how patriarchy punishes ambition. 30 minutes later she texted me a spreadsheet labeled Riley's restitution plan, as if I were a bank. Vic pitched me his golf simulator startup again, downturn proof. Zeke DM'd, bro, can you front me for a mic? I muted the thread and felt my nervous system unclench by degrees. Nights were tricky. My body wanted to drag me back to the elevator reel, the mint and trouble. When it started, I got up instead of drowning in it. I sanded the wobble out of the kitchen stool. I taught Pixel a dumb new trick: spin, and cried for no good reason when he nailed it. I ran until my lungs burned, then kept walking until my heart stopped trying to bargain. Small victories stacked. I canceled the streaming services Riley swore she used for work. I unsubscribed from the winery newsletter that kept sending smiling couples clinking glasses. I called my mom and let her ask nurse questions about my appetite. Dad, accidentally, left a tape measure on my counter again and stayed to drink a beer in comfortable silence. We watched baseball like it could notarize the moment. One afternoon Serena called from a blocked number, shaky, brave. FYI, Grant tried to flip it, she said. HR had your timeline. It mattered. After we hung up I stood in the kitchen and stared at the stupid plant we almost killed and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Dignity. Not the shiny kind. The quiet kind that fits in your pocket. Riley's last move came by courier. A padded envelope with my name typed out, not scrawled. Inside, my old concert ticket stubs, a photo strip of us laughing on a boardwalk, and a post-it. You were the harbor. I mistook calm for boredom. I'm sorry. I pressed the paper to the counter and let the grief be weather instead of a residence. That night I walked to the corner coffee shop and put my name down for open mic. 5 minutes later I wanted to leave, but the barista called Mason, like a lifeguard. I told a small, stupid story about teaching a stubborn mutt to spin. People laughed. Not at me, with me. On the walk home the air tasted like rain and relief, and for the first time since the gala, I believed there was a future where my name wasn't a footnote in Riley's plot. It was the headline of my own. The decree hit my inbox on a Tuesday that smelled like rain and dog shampoo. A PDF ended a marriage with fewer keystrokes than it takes to order socks. I forwarded it to Miss Patel, texted my parents a heart, and sat at the table listening to the radiator tick like a metronome for grief. Pixel thumped his tail against my shin until I stood up and started moving through the apartment like a person who lives here. I made a list called Keep and taped it to the fridge. Condo, dog, spine, peace. I let myself be aggressively boring on purpose. Laundry that finished the same day it started, a sink that sparkled, 8 hours of sleep like a prescription. It turned out boring is what healing wears when it clocks in. Then I added color back. Theo from the climbing gym taught me to tie a figure 8 and said, trust your feet, not your panic. I topped my first V3 and cried in the car where no one could see. Thursday nights became open mic at the coffee shop with the burnt espresso machine. I told 5-minute stories that had nothing and everything to do with an elevator. People laughed kindly. A woman with blue hair knuckled tears and said, same, on my way off stage. Saturdays I drove with Pixel up the coast in a beat-up Subaru that smells like ocean and French fries, stopping at beaches with names that sound like poems. The families found their new orbits. Mom texted pictures of stews like in 4 drip. Dad kept forgetting tools at my place so he could swing by and watch a few innings. Lorna pivoted from #resilience to #rising and stopped tagging me. She still sent a spreadsheet tracking Riley's restitution like I was accounts payable. Vic pitched me the golf simulator again, recession-proof, and I said no like a muscle I was finally growing. Zeke sent me the link to his first podcast episode, 37 minutes of him saying like, into an expensive mic. I didn't listen but hoped he finished something. HR closed the book. Grant evaporated from LinkedIn. Serena sent one last message. We hired an actual HR director. Doors closed to men like him now. I wrote back, good, and meant it. Riley went quiet. No knocks, no midnight sobbing, no one more month. Just 2 payments that landed on time and a silence that felt humane for once. I stopped checking her socials the way you stop touching a sore tooth. One day I realized I'd gone a week without thinking of Mint and Trouble, and the absence felt like a healed place you forget you ever guarded. On a Sunday the climbing gym played 90s pop and smelled like rubber and chalk. A new route set, a clean green line, went just out of my reach. I fell, laughed, tried again. On the 3rd go I hit the final hold and hooped loud enough to make Theo grin. Look at you, he said. Up here living. On the drive home I rolled the windows down, let Pixel's ears flap in the wind, and realized the knot in my chest had loosened into something like room. That night I cooked a truly terrible omelet and ate it anyway. I put the Moab map on the wall above my desk and booked a long weekend for fall. I wrote a title at the top of a fresh page, Next. Not revenge. Not survival. Just a list of small good things I get to choose. The last loose end tied itself with a digital bow, decree entered. A judge's e-signature ended the thing we once whispered would outlast us. No bang, no speech, just a quiet click and whatever comes after. I printed it, slid it into a folder called Kept, and tucked that beside a small stack. Condo deed, 2 climbing punch cards, an open mic flyer with my name spelled right, and a photo of Pixel asleep on my shoes like the world finally stopped shaking. Closure didn't feel like victory. It felt like that first full breath after you've been talking too long, air going all the way down. I walked the apartment and realized how many corners were mine again. I rearranged the books, cookbooks next to repair manuals, healing his soup and screwdrivers, oiled the door hinge Dad kept pretending needed him, and watered the plant we nearly killed. It perked up overnight like it had just been waiting for someone to choose it. Riley's family settled into their final positions like chess pieces after the clock. Lorna rebranded to #rising and stopped tagging me but still emailed repayment spreadsheets like I'm accounts payable. Vic pitched the golf simulator one more time, recession-proof, and I said no without apologizing. Zeke posted his podcast. I didn't listen but I hope he finishes something he started. My parents did what real people do. Mom kept ladling comfort into Tupperware, Dad kept finding excuses to tighten screws and watch the sixth inning. As for Riley, 2 transfers landed on time. No midnight knocks. No, 1 more month. No mint and trouble. Just silence. Not cold, merciful. I hope she becomes the version of herself she kept trying to sell me. Honest, boring in the right ways, good. But that's her story to write, not mine to hold. Here's what I learned, written like the advice I wish had been taped to my fridge the night the elevator doors closed. Trust boring evidence. Screenshots outvote speeches and tears on your rug. Safe isn't an insult. It's a harbor. Harbors aren't flashy, they save ships. Revenge that lasts is paperwork, not theatrics. Policies, signatures, boundaries that if you try to stay, write your exit while you try. Love isn't a reason to be misused. Healing looks like dumb chores and small joys. Sleep, soup, dog tricks, chalky hands, bad omelets, long drives. Your worth doesn't rise or fall with someone else's electricity. Be your own gravity. I still think about the party sometimes. The chrome, the slow song, the moment she chose better. I used to cast myself as the fool in that scene, the background extra holding champagne. Now I see a guy who stayed upright when the room tilted, who measured twice and finally cut once, who walked out without setting himself on fire to keep anyone else warm. Last Thursday I told a story at open mic that didn't mention elevators or bosses or even marriage. Theo from the gym yelled, "Send it," from the back. People laughed, then clapped the way strangers do when they're glad you made it here at all. I walked home under ordinary streetlights, pixel trotting like a metronome, and booked that Moab weekend before I could talk myself out of it. A Mason. I was called safe like it was a flaw. Turns out it's the best thing about me. And this quiet, patient, honest life, is the better option I picked for myself. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up.